as we continue our Drive to Survive Season 7 series. As you know, hey everybody, welcome to America F1. We are going through each and every episode piece by piece, line by line. No, we're not doing that. We're just going through and giving a recap of each episode. And in this episode, this is episode, let's see, we've done 1, 2, 3. So this will be episode 5, because remember, we skipped episode 1, and we can do episode 1 at the end because it's just kind of a recap and kind of getting you started for Drive to Survive. This episode is called Le Caisse of Leclerc. And it's basically everything to do about Charles Leclerc's curse in Monaco, and he's never won Monaco, and there hasn't been a Monegasque to win Monaco in 93 years, and he would be the first, and all the pressure, and we'll get into all that and talk about it here at America F1.
Yeah, America F1. America F1. It's a golden run. America F1.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is 27 years old. He drives the number 16 car for Ferrari. Here it is, right here. Of course, it's a different color now. Here's number 16, and here's our Ferrari model. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Oh, wheels move. Look at that, look at that, look at that. The wheels move. Yes, the wheels do move. And I hope you're digging our new set. You know, sometimes I'll be at the desk. Sometimes I'll be over here at the chair. There's our little Dayglow neon sign. I hope you're liking the new digs. And went through a lot of work to get this room ready. And soon this week, when we start doing the preview for the Australian Grand Prix, Mike will be here, and yeah, I just hope you love the setup. Anyhow, back to Charles Leclerc. 27 years old, drives Ferrari car number 16. He has 147 starts, 149 entries, but 147 starts in F1, 26 poles, 10 fastest laps, 43 podiums, 8 wins. And I think when you think of his pole to win ratio, it's probably the nicest way to say it. It's not one of the best in F1 history. It's probably the worst. But that's okay. That's okay, because he had a lot of growing pains. Charles had a lot of growing pains. But when you have 26 poles, you should, the rate is pretty close to 80% of the times you win. Think about that. You start on pole 80% of the times you should win. You know, and that's the kind of line around the high mark. So say for the average pole sitter or average Formula One champ, it's 75%. You know, Lewis is like at 80. I think Max is like at 83. Alonso's like at 82. They're all in the top tier guys are all in the low 80s or the high 70s. And then, other world champions, as we go down the line, they're usually in the 73 to 75, 76 percentile. But 8 wins and 26 poles, that is not even 50%. That is, it goes into 24 3 times, as we know, so that's in the 30s, right? It's about 30, that's probably, 29 point some odd percent? Just off the top of my head, I'm no mathematician. Give me a break. We're talking Formula One here. Now, I did not know that Jules Bianchi, who, as we all know, died in Suzuka, and unfortunately, I was at that race, and I witnessed that accident, and Jules was, headed for Ferrari, so to speak. All the roads led to that. He was a very promising young driver. I didn't know he was the godfather of Charles, and he also, I guess, helped when he was karting. We would help as a mechanic. These are things when you dive into Formula One and you're trying to do a segment for a show, you learn a little bit more about the drivers, and that's pretty cool. But it's also kind of tragic because Charles's father, Hervé or Hervé Leclerc, he died when he was 54, and Charles hadn't actually reached F1 yet. He was in F2, and his father had been sick for a little bit, and he had told his father that he was going to be racing for the Sauber team, which he eventually did the next year, but his father had passed away. And you hear a lot of these type of stories where sports stars like dad or mom passed away before they got to see them um, realize their dream. And when you think about it's the child's dream, it's really the dad's and the mother's dreams too, because they support them all this time. They probably have to do it financially. They've taken time away from their own family, the other siblings and such, to realize the dream of their son. And I can relate because my dad died when I was 5, and who knows what my life would have been like if he was still alive, and the influence that a father can have on a son. And one of the only memories I have of my dad, since I died he died when I was 5, is him buying me a bicycle and teaching me how to ride a bike. And I can only imagine being with your dad all the way through karting, all the way through F3, all the way through, Formula 3 or whatever it was called back then, uh, and Formula 2, and not getting to see your son realize his dream all the way to Formula 1. So that has to stick with you. And in this episode of Drive to Survive, episode 5, Le Curse of Leclerc, we get to see the other drivers, like, well, basically acknowledge that, well, maybe he does have a curse. And Pierre Gasly just says he had bad luck, and he's French also. He's not Monegasque, but they speak French, and so he's trying to downplay it and say, well, no, it's just bad luck. There's no curse. But you get to see the weight. He's out. They have just like I keep telling you, I love the cinematography, and a lot of fans don't really gravitate to the show because it's contrived, and they know that some of these things are made up just for drama. But the cinematography is fire. I don't care what you say. The cinematography is fire. I watch it just for that. Now I'll go back to some of the seasons before where they've had like crashes or something like that, and they show it so vividly, and, and the colors are so vibrant, and especially when they use the slow-mo camera. And I mean, it's it's awesome. The cinematography is awesome. Whoever that cinematographer is, whoever does it and maps these things out, good job, man, or madam. So the curse, how does it wait? They show Charles going out on the beautiful Monaco, sea, and they're out there, and he's driving the boat with his friends, and they're saying, well, if you win, it's going to be national news. You're going to be on the news, and everybody's going to talk about it, and they'll have a day for you. It's going to be awesome. And they're diving into the water, and they have him diving deep into the water, like to kind of convey the depth and the weight on Charles's shoulders of the water, the weight going down. Um, there's pressure in Formula One, and there's always more pressure when you're trying to win your home Grand Prix. I mean, Lewis has won the British Grand Prix, Max has won a Dutch Grand Prix. Everybody, Checo never got to win the Mexican Grand Prix. But there's always more added pressure when it's not only the fans, but it's people you know in the stands, and it's people you know in the paddock, and it's your family, and it's your friends, and everybody's rooting for you. And for you to come up time and time and time again, short or DNF or crash, it has to be frustrating. And then you start, maybe in your mind, you start believing, well, maybe there is a curse. Maybe there is. You're. So they show that. They also show it must be tough living in the city that they're having the race in. And, the poor guy, he goes to the market and people, they show a scene where he's at the market, he's buying some food and, people are staring at him. But, that's going to happen. Like when you go to LA and you see like somebody you see on a television show or a movie and you see him right there. Well, of course you stare at him for a second. One, you want to make sure it's them because you go like, doesn't that look like so and so? That's your first instinct, and then you're like, oh yeah, that is so and so, and then you debate in your mind. I don't, but maybe people do. Should I ask them for a picture? Should I ask them for an autograph? Should I get a selfie with them? Typically I don't. In people's private lives, I'll say, if they see me, I'll say what's up, I'll give them a head nod and keep on moving, man, because they're people too, they got lives to lead. And why are you bothering them? And people will be like, well, you never might see them ever again and you should ask for. Yeah, I've just never been an autograph hound. Who cares? Like, you know enjoy your life, brother. But in this instance, Charles is out with his dog, and it's the night before the race. And so he's trying to get his head on. He's probably antsy, can't really sleep, so he's trying to burn some energy. Takes his dog out for a walk. Literally, people are driving by at night. They see Charles with his dog go jogging down the block, and they roll the window down. They're like, "Hey, my kid's in here, and he's 5 years old, and he really loves you. Do you mind if we take a picture?" Sure. Takes a picture with the kid. It's like 11 o'clock at night, 11, you know, and he takes the picture, puts his arm around him, and then he goes on. And then somebody else stops him and they want to get a selfie, and he takes a selfie. And he kind of alludes to it that, there's a lot weighing on him, there's a lot of pressure, but then it's also, you can't get any time to just to yourself because wherever you go, people are kind of hounding you for autographs or whatever. But to Charles's credit, unlike a lot of people who would just have like maybe earpods in and ignore them and just keep on running or keep doing what they're doing, he stops and he takes the picture or he signs the autograph, which says a lot about Charles Leclerc and how good a person that he is and how nice a person that he is. Because not too many people, I mean, I'm sure that there are stars that would do that, but there are also a lot of them that would just keep on running and keep on going, not today, and have their earpods in and AirPods in and then just ignore you. So good credit goes out to Charles for, you know, knowing that in that moment for that child or that person, this is the best thing for them because you're their hero. So this is the best thing that has happened to them probably in quite a while. And so to take the time to give that picture or sign that autograph, that goes a long way. And I'm going to segue here and also to a baseball star, Barry Bonds, who was a huge baseball star and probably one of the greatest baseball stars of all time and one of the greatest hitters of all time. But he was pretty gruff. He was gruff with the media, he was gruff with fans. And I think that hurt him. I think that hurt how people perceived him, even though he was a great baseball player and was this great mega baseball star. But it hurt his persona because people said he was mean. People said he was aloof. People said he was gruff. And I think if you're just nicer to people and you understand that this is the life that you chose, and wherever you go, people are going to look at you and people are going to stare at you. And I know it's probably a lot. And a lot of people in stardom fail at it because they can't handle it. They can't handle stardom. But it seems like Charles is pretty grounded, and his parents did a great job, and his brothers look after him. And it just seems like he has a great foundation, and he's just a great, nice person. And I hope one day, not this year because I hope Lewis wins, but I hope one day that maybe after Lewis wins a couple championships, now we can get Charles a couple championships because he's just such a nice guy, and in the episode he alludes to, like, all I ever think about is winning a world title. I go to sleep thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. Like, I believe that if you think about it, you view it, you can achieve it. And that's his persona. Like, that's what I'm driven to do. I want to win this world title. That's what I'm here to do. And every waking moment, I'm going to try to put a foot forward so I can do that. Then you have Fred Vasseur, who's the team principal of Sauber, or Alfa Romeo Sauber. And remember that Charles drove for Alfa Romeo for 1 year before he went to Ferrari. And so you have Fred Vasseur and the relationship when he was at Alfa Romeo, and then you juxtapose that to now being at Ferrari, Fred coming into Ferrari, and now already having a relationship with Charles from the Sauber days, and he already had a relationship with Lewis back in the F2 days. So Fred's the perfect person to lead Ferrari because he knows both drivers intimately. And you could see that because during the Monaco race, and they show it, they had a crash. And it was when, remember, Checo had that bad crash and they red flagged the race and they're cleaning up the debris. And, Charles, all these things are racing through his head. And then they go to Fred and he's talking about, hey, I know what I have to do in this moment. I have to calm Charles down. I have to tell him everything's going to be okay. And they have this one scene where Charles is asking for feedback and information, and they wouldn't give it to him. His director came back and said, don't ask for that. We're not giving that to you. And then Charles says, oh, that's messed up. And he says, don't ask for that. And you could hear Fred saying, I have to control his emotions. So we're not giving him that information. And I know, Charles, this is how I have to handle him. And that's a little insight that you wouldn't see when you're just watching, like if you're at the race or if you're just watching it on television. Just that little insight into how Fred handles Charles Leclerc and his mentality and how he's trying to get the utmost out of his performance. And I think that's what Fred brings to the table with Charles and with Lewis. And that's why I really do believe, if not this year, and I hope this year, but within these next 2 to 3 years, Ferrari's going to win this constructors title. And it's down to the people. It's down to the psyche and the knowing of not only how to run a team, but how to get the most out of your two drivers. And I think Fred is in the perfect position, or Frederic is in the perfect position to get the best out of both drivers at Ferrari. This could be, the best time. They could bring back the golden age of Ferrari. Win 2, 3 constructors titles in 4 or 5 years. That'd be awesome. Now, Charles ends up winning Monaco, as we all know, and you have this celebration. But here's the thing that I think they left out. Remember, Charles not only won Monaco, but he also won Monza for Ferrari in Italy with the Tifosi. They didn't show that. I mean, make the episode another 15 to 20 minutes. Show that win. Show the Tifosi. Show that crowd and how many people are there and how crazy the fans are for Ferrari and all the red and Charles winning with the shot of him holding the trophy and all those fans in a sea of fans as far as you can see, and they're running with the big flag. And how do you not show that? How do you not show that? They didn't. They didn't. Just like they didn't show Lewis winning in Silverstone with his dad and his mom, and they're hugging, and he's crying. And these are the things that Drive to Survive drives me crazy. Because these are those nuggets, those human moments, the human emotional elements that you have to bring. But they left it out. And when you're a fan of Formula One, and if you go to the races, or like for myself, you do a podcast, it's very frustrating. One, it's frustrating that some of the storylines are not true and contrived for drama. Two, it's frustrating because you know they're leaving so many important details out. Now, some I know they leave out because, well, the teams don't want you to know. They don't want their dirty laundry aired on a television show. I mean, you read about it, you see it, but they don't want it videoed and shown because that's bad for the brand. Okay, that's bad for the brand. Think about it. You got a multi-billion-dollar Ferrari, multi-billion-dollar Mercedes, multi-billion-dollar Red Bull. You got these multi-billion-dollar companies. You don't want bad press that's going to hurt you. So you only want to show yourself in the best light possible. I get that. But showing Charles win at Monza is not bad for the brand. It's not only helpful to the brand of Ferrari, it's helpful for the brand of Drive to Survive. How they left that out? Now, will we see that in another episode? Because we're only at episode 5 and we got 5 more episodes left. We might. But so far, since this was the Charles Leclerc episode and they had the best chance of showing it to you, the audience, they didn't. Drop the ball. Drop the ball. Drop the ball. I'm going to do something totally out of left field as we end this segment about the curse of Charles Leclerc on Drive to Survive, Season 7, Episode number 5. Go back and revisit Episode 4. We've done the recap for that. We've done the recap for Episode 3. We've done the recap for Episode 2. And we'll be doing Episode 6 for tomorrow. We're dropping an episode every day. So we thank you for your continued viewership, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on our YouTube channel. We're also on Instagram under America Media F1. And you can visit us on Spotify and all the podcast channels on America F1. That's Merica F1. And also on our Facebook channel. And we also have a fan book page that we just started. It's growing. We only have 66 people. We need more people. And we drop, gems there and sign up for our membership and all the things that all these channels have. But we're not asking it to enrich ourselves because we do this for the fans. We're asking it to help fund better content. So when we go to the races, we can get you more behind the scenes stuff. And we're asking it for we can get better guests on the show. And we're asking it for, well, it takes a lot to do the show. You take your time. It takes effort. You got to edit. You got to do the sound. There's a lot of things that go into the show. And I don't know if you knew this. Moi does all the sound, all the editing, all the footage, pretty much everything. I do all of it. When Mike's on the show, he just comes, sits down, talks. When Scott's on the show, he's in New York, he just talks. But all the behind the scenes stuff is done by Et Moi. So we would appreciate it if you either buy us a coffee or sign up for our membership here on YouTube. And with that note, join us tomorrow for the next episode and keep on racing, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing